We don't talk about Mario Montez. Bustamante's Silver and Gold, which is basically too bizarre for me to summarize, is gorgeous, and it seems to me to flicker between imagining herself as Maria Montez and as Mario Montez. In the performance, there's a film that plays in the background, and there's a still from it. Well, these are both stills from it, but the moment I'm about to describe is on your left. She's wandering through the woods, beautiful makeup, and smothering her face in flowers. It's alive, nature is beautiful. And then she's being followed by something. And they're little, they look like little insects, but what they are little penises. Right? It's animated. And they grow in size, and then she's being attacked in the film. Right? And that's what you're seeing on the left. She's warding off the phallus, or it's an army of phalli. And she wakes up and she discovers that she has one. And in the film, she has an enormous dildo that's crusted in jewels and speaks to her. So it's really it becomes her muse, basically. So and this gets picked up again in the live bit. So it's crazy. I don't quite know how to integrate it into this conversation about art and politics, but I know that there's something there. So I want you to see it. So, okay. I'm going to go into a very serious place. So Neo was there for comic relief. Okay. I'll start with this. So this is an image of Ronnie Fee, who may be known to some of you. Please nod your heads so I have a sense. Just a couple people, yes. So, Ronnie Fee is probably one of the most well-known of American queer performance artists. And he's well-known and influential in the genre of body art. That he is well-known does not necessarily come from a good thing. So, this image is a portrait taken by Catherine Opie, who's a very interesting and very successful photographer for someone who comes from a queer underground scene, right? And she actually had a history of collaborating with Ronnie Fee in his performances. She was actually once part of his performance troupe, of his company. So this is a work that was produced in collaboration. And he's got their needles sort of threaded throughout his skull. I wanted to include these images because Ronnie Fee actually did an experimental opera called Judas Cradle, which was made in direct response to Abu Ghraib. And it was a response to, in part at least, the circulation of the photographs of American military officers in the middle of humiliating their prisoners. And so those photographs became part of an international conversation, not only about the military presence and occupation in Iraq and their misconduct, but also about power and sadistic pleasure within the exercise of power. There is a fairly deep tradition of thinking about this topic in queer performance art through S&M. And so this opera was partly responding to that. So, although it's an expanded operatic scale, which makes references to the Spanish Inquisition, to medieval religious texts and the like. It's a very difficult work. The scandal that I wanted to talk to you about, or the problem around Ronnie Fee's history today, originates in 1994. And I want to talk about this to you because it's a very important example in the United States for what happens when conversations about art become politicized. Right? So this was actually the term that gets used to describe the disaster of 1994 and the what are called the NEA wars, the National Endowment for the Arts battles over the use of government funding to support work that makes people uncomfortable. So in 1994, as a part of a work called Four Scenes in a Harsh Life, Ronnie Fee cuts into the back of a black man who goes by the name of Divinity. He presses paper into the cuts and attaches the paper to a string, and then sends the paper out as if it were laundry almost, but little flags across the stage. A journalist who had not seen the performance but was instead working in essence as a spokesperson for the right, wrote an article in which she described Ronnie Fee as infecting the audience with HIV by exposing them to blood. She also said that members of the audience fled in terror, which was not true. The heart of the story was the scandal that this event would have used public funding. Less than $200 of federal money was used to support this performance. Indirectly. In his career, Ronnie Fee has never once applied for public funding for his work. Nevertheless, his name was spoken from the floor of the United States Senate, and he wound up splashed across newspapers all over the country, and being credited with having ended, in essence, public funding of difficult queer work. That is a lot for one person to bear. So it's very sobering. So I'm telling this story because I think that controversy took many of the artists who were in his company by surprise. It's not that they were expecting their work to be easy or popular. It's that these practices develop organically from a history of making work within underground queer spaces. So Ronnie Fee was part of a club called Club Fuck, which was a weekly nightclub in Los Angeles that went on for just 3 to 4 years, 1989 to 1992. Yesterday we were reminded of ACT UP and cultural activism around ACT UP. It's important to remember that there was also a culture of protest and outrage that was not directed necessarily at changing the law, but was about making the unbearable bearable. You've noticed that's a membership card on the top, and it says Endangered Species Productions. So this is a sex-positive, queer-positive space supporting genderfuck in a moment that felt positively apocalyptic.